I'll I'll turn it over to you. You can start sharing your screen, and Mariana should be able to start talking.
Good.
Good.
So I hope everyone, I know that was kind of a quick one. I hope everyone was able to get a few good thoughts in. I just want to kind of stay on schedule as much as we can, because I know we have some speakers later who have pretty tight windows. So I want to make sure I'm accommodating them and being respectful of everyone's time. It's great that, those that have been able to join us. Kate, it's great having you continue on with us. Some great questions and everything. So I'm going to roll right over to Damian Estrada and Mariana. So Damian and I both did on deck climate tech. I think he was in the cohort just after me, but I kind of hung around a little bit and was lucky enough to meet him. And so we've kind of been talking a little bit about his mandatum throughout the years and how he's sort of developed that. But first we'll start with Mariana, which it's terrazos, right? In the biodiversity space. And she's going to teach us a little bit more biodiversity specific, with maybe more of a carbon kicker, as opposed to the other way around. So so we'll talk about that. Mariana, if you want to start talking, and Damian, I think, is going to be handling the slides.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having us, Matt. Terrazos, it's a Colombian company. We're a B Corp. We've been working on biodiversity conservation and trying to make private investment into biodiversity conservation impactful, financially sustainable and profitable, but also durable. So in this process, we found my mandatum, and you're going to see here how both things come together. In the end, sort of the issue is it's about the money, it's about the impact, and today there's a problem. And this is the reality of a lot of the places that we encounter in Colombia and around the world, where money has gone for a biodiversity conservation project, but they're all short-term conservation initiatives dispersed. So the transaction costs are super high. They're not result-oriented. So, people aren't really getting paid for delivering ecological outcomes, but just for kind of managing land. And in the end, money is wasted. So Terrazos comes in, and it's okay, how do we make sure that it doesn't happen? And that becomes really important in the current context, and the reality of things where 70% of global food crops rely on policies which are in natural ecosystems. 25% of modern are derived from wildlife. Oftentimes, we see biodiversity as something out there that's distant from many of the people that live in urban areas. Well, the truth of the matter is that it's a lot closer to us. Species diversity is important for climate change, adaptation, mitigation, but we are facing, extinction. And in the end, when you bring this and you tie this into the economy, it's the reality that half of the world's GDP depends on nature. So, how do we target this? How do we invest in biodiversity, which in a way sustains everything that happened? Next. Then there's the reality that there's a 760 billion per year fund gap to protect nature. So then the question is, okay, let's see, maybe we do find the 760 billion. How do we make sure that problem that laid out, in that first slide is not what happened? And this is what Terrazos has been working on for the last 7 years, developing habitat banks and biodiversity credits in Colombia for the compliance market. And now we've developed that product in the voluntary space. Terrazos is one of the leading organizations around the world developing biodiversity credits, which anybody can buy, which, the goal is to make this investment. So what is a biodiversity credit? If you can go back, Damien, please. It's a positive and permanent contribution to biodiversity. Some people are calling it biodiversity certificates. It doesn't matter. Positive and permanent contribution to biodiversity. Next. And then the logic of it is that, let's stop making isolated investments that have high transaction costs, that don't have, that are not necessarily placed in the most meaningful places, and do those investments in sites that are strategically selected, that are structured in a way in which, the investment can remain. So we do everything for at least 30 years by placing land use restrictions and establishing endowments to maintain those sites. And the key difference is that it works under a performance-based approach. So we only get paid by our buyers when we've delivered outcomes. And that outcome is represented in that biodiversity credit. Next. So, so if what's important to take away from this, and how do Tetrapasos' biodiversity credits work? They represent permanent contributions for approximately 10 square meters of threatened or conserved ecosystems. For 30 years. Sorry, I have a 5-year-old next to me. That are managed, 30 years that are managed with technical, financial, and legal assurances. And then finally, that it's a performance-based result. So we've been working on massifying this product, right? What's the best and most efficient way of bringing investment into biodiversity credit, and therefore these projects, and starting to protect nature, not just the ecosystems that are important for carbon sequestration, but the ecosystems that are really important to maintain biodiversity. And that's where, we find Mandatum as an amazing opportunity to massify impactful projects like this one. So I'll turn it over to Damien.